Hey folks, Levi here once again. Welcome back to another video. I hope you all enjoyed my vlog video, my vlog stuff video. Yes, I am still taking a break from YouTube. If y'all watch that video, you know what I mean. Just watch the vlog stuff video if you guys haven't seen it. But anyway, I said in my vlog stuff video, if I got time, I would do videos. And, well, I have time, so I'm doing the video right now. And, well, before I get to anything else, let's just get to the video itself, then I'll get to some other stuff I need to talk about real quick at the end of this video. But anyway, sorry, set my webcam. But for now, I'll just focus on what this video is about, and of course, continue my Superman marathon, since I've been talking about my Superman TV shows, since I'm on phase 3 of the Superman marathon. I've talked about the Superman TV shows. I've given my thoughts on favorite episodes of Smallville Season 1 and Season 2, and now, in this video, I'm giving my thoughts / favorite episodes of Smallville Season 3, which I believe lasted 2003 to 2004. Yeah. They always put really good pictures in the back. Yeah, there's a picture of Clark with the S symbol, you know, that was marked on his chest, you know. Oh yeah. Some of the discs. Pictures a little bit, sorry for the glare. And of course all the discs of the episodes and the booklet for the booklet here that tells you all the episodes of each of the season, or the episodes of it that you can find and want to watch. Yeah. Sorry. But yeah. First of all, my thoughts on Smallville Season 3, like I said at the start of this, I love Smallville. It's one of my favorite TV shows ever. I love the show. Yeah, the show does have some problems once in a while, but Smallville Season 3, yes, this show got a little bit darker in this season. I would say darker, but, you know, took some risks to do things, and things changed in this season a little bit, and, you know, the whole thing with Lionel Luthor, and, you know, yeah, you found some stuff out about him. But, you know, and Clark, of course, running away from at the end of the season, going to Metropolis, plays more into that. But I'll get more to that. But Smallville Season 3, I really enjoyed it. You know, did I like it more Season 2? Probably, to be honest, yes. I know this season dipped into the ratings, I heard, with this show. I mean, you know, Season 3 dipped in the ratings, which I don't know why. I don't think it deserved that, you know. I mean, I guess some people just didn't like this season. I don't know. But so far, I did enjoy this season. Probably did like it more than Season 1 and 2, but that's just me. For me, it just keeps on getting better and better. But Smallville Season 3, I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to get to my favorite episodes. And let me get to what this season is about. Pretty much Smallville Season 3, this time it follows Clark's constant fight against the destiny that his biological father, Jor-El, has in store for him, and his guilt over the price Jonathan Kent paid to bring him back to Smallville. Lex deals with a psychological breakdown he had when stranded on a desert island, while the conflict between him and his father comes to a final blow. Clark's secret begins to weigh heavily on Pete, and the relationship between Clark and Lana hits a dead end. Yeah, and also a bit more surprises and spoilers for this season. And I believe this is also the last season to star Sam Jones, Sam Jones. This is his last time, by the way, as Pete. Forgot to mention that, yeah, I just wanted to say that. As Pete Ross. But he does return as Pete Ross in Season 7, episode called Hero. He left the series to film a movie called Glory Road, and I guess they go do other stuff, film other movies. And I've seen Glory Road, but I think it was a Disney movie, pretty good movie. But yeah, that is one character now that we have leave this show. So, but I'll get to that. Okay. Sorry, I know we're 5 minutes in. Let me go ahead and get to my favorite episodes again, which I wrote down my favorite episodes of the season, and my okay episodes of Season 3 of Smallville. I will get to it. I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to be all night, trust me, because it's already 9 o'clock, and I have work tomorrow. So, anyway, guys, my favorite episodes of Smallville Season 3 are, first one is, so let's get into it, is Exile, which Exile, of course, is the first episode of the season, of Season 3. And it takes place where Season 2 left off, where Clark, of course, decided to leave Smallville, and now Clark, under the influence of red kryptonite, he's in Metropolis now. He's just doing some bad illegal stuff, breaking the law. You see him breaking the ATM machines and steal money, get this nice car, hook up with this nice woman, and he goes to the nightclubs and hangs out. He's basically just trying to run away from what he did after feeling guilty, what he did to his parents. If y'all have seen Season 2, you know why. And you also have Lex, who is... Well, before I get to that, Clark ends up, also getting involved in a bank robbery. Well, stop these bank robbers so he can borrow the money for himself. The cops shoot at him, but of course they can't kill Clark because he is bulletproof. But Clark is able to get out of there, so this comes to the attention of Morgan Edge, who is played by the late Rutger Hauer, who, I remember him in his villain's role as Roy from Blade Runner, late Rutger Hauer, he passed away some time ago, but Rutger Hauer plays Morgan Edge, he's a crime boss, like the biggest crime boss in Metropolis, so he basically has his men go shoot Clark in his bed. Of course, doesn't work, because now since he knows his abilities, he wants them to steal this file, steal something from Luther's office, so at first he refuses to take the job, but after, Chloe knows where he is. Lana, who was Mrs. Clark, and she wants to bring him back home. Lana tries to go back to him. Pete and Jonathan and Martha start wondering where Clark is at, know that he's probably doing some stuff, and Jonathan wants to just go get him, and Martha's like, no, we just need to be patient. Until Clark eventually starts really breaking the law and doing some stuff he shouldn't, and eventually decides to help Morgan Edge out. Lana does decide to Lana comes from Metropolis to talk to him come back into it, but he just tells her off pretty much. He doesn't want nothing to do with her, so she leaves, broken-hearted. So he decides, of course, to get Morgan Edge, take his offer. Also, in the episode, you have Lex, after, of course, marrying Dr. Helen Bryce, when they were on the plane, Lex was on the plane by himself, so Lex is now stranded on the desert island by himself, and the world believes that he is dead. At the mansion, he pretty much figured out that Helen, who comes up with a story that Lex saved her life, there was one less parachute, so she just jumped out and apparently Lex is dead. And even though Lionel doesn't trust her, thinks that, because after Lex dies, is presumed dead, she starts using his money, basically says she's a Black Widow, and that she might have something to do with it, but Lionel has no proof. And while Lex is on this mansion, Lex is on this desert island, he talks to this guy named Lewis. And basically, he's trying to get out of him. Lewis doesn't want to get out of him, but Lewis is a guy that's out of his mind. He found out that Lewis killed his father. He basically, you see the dead body of his father, and he tries to kill Lex, and Lex fights with Lewis, tries to kill him, and of course, this is all a fantasy though. Apparently, this was kind of Lex seeing of what he will become, of my father said I couldn't be better, of seeing who he would become, a murderous monster, basically. But anyway, Lex, is being loose, but realizes he's taking this, no man, this island, this mess with your head, and Lex is like, what? That's why he was there. You gotta believe you. You gotta believe me. But at the end of the episode, Jonathan decides to finally go look for Clark by using the key disc, the Opticon disc, uses to go talk to Jor-El, and Jor-El's like, he's my son. He's like, no, he's my son. His future is his destiny. He's what I want. He's like, I want to bring him back home. Well, are you willing to do whatever it takes, Jonathan? Can't even make a deal with me? He's like, yes, whatever it takes, Jor-El, I'll do it. And Jor-El gives Jonathan superpowers, and he converts with Clark under break. By the way, Clark is trying to replicate kryptonite hurts him a little bit. He even tries to call his mom. It doesn't work. When he tries to take it off, it just doesn't work. When he finally tries to take it off, it just doesn't work. And pretty much the symbol on his chest keeps getting worse and being in pain. And eventually, him and this, as he's robbing Lionel Luthor, stealing this, what we find out the vial of his blood, by the way. Later on, it says, Jonathan says, "It's time for you to come home, son." And Clark pushes him. It's like, "Son, you come home with me now." And then, tackles him and they fight. Well, when he tackles him, they land out the window. And they go out the window. And the episode ends there. But it's all really good. Really enjoyed it. Alright, and then the other favorite of my episode of mine is called Phoenix. Where the last episode took place, where now Clark and Jonathan are fighting. Clark tries to destroy him, but he can't, and he takes his shirt off, and he's like, "If I can raise a son to kill, then my son will really kill." And then he has the red cane, and Clark says, "No, do it," and he punches the cane off, and he's like, the symbol starts burning off of his chest. And Clark goes back and he's like, "Dad, you okay?" And he takes Jonathan home. Lionel Luthor, by the way, is also able to figure out that, about the window and find out that Morgan has stolen it. And you also find out that they were past friends as well. Some of the spoilers coming up, that you can tell they know each other, because I remember the episode when they hang out a little bit, they talk about old times, so you can tell that they've been friends. And basically, he wanted to steal the vial from Lionel so he can get more money from him, so he needed Clark to do it. He tries to talk to Clark, and Clark just, grabs him and is like, tells him, "Go away, and I don't want to see your face as Smallville again." Morgan is not intending to give him up, does not give up. Clark tries to apologize to everybody, including Lana and Chloe, which, this affects his friends as well, and they really just don't want to forgive him. Lana's heartbroken, and Clark even sees her cry over it, that their relationship just came to a dead end, and it's pretty much over, since he screwed it up. And of course, Lex returns home, and him and Clark, welcome each other with open arms, give each other a hug, and Lex decides to find out who did this, and when she sees him again, she says that she made up a story, and but you also find out that I forget the story she tells Lex, but I think she told him that she tried to wake him up, and said she just ran out of there, and she was afraid and just had no choice. So Lex wouldn't wake up from his sleep, and Lex is bound and determined to find out who's up to something, who betrayed him. And of course, you end up finding out that it was Helen herself. That you find that it was her the whole time. That she gave the vial, Clark's blood, to when Lex gave it back to her, because after you saw the second season, she suffered the Morgan Edge. Tries to help the Morgan Edge make a deal with him, and she basically has one of Lionel's men killed, and she tries to have him killed herself. And he's like, "You know what, Lex, I love you." And she wants to get out. Lex to have a little fight and tussle a little bit. The window opens. When the gun goes off, the door opens up in the window. Then, Lex is going to fly the plane, and as he turns around, Ellen is gone. It's assuming that either she fell out or her parachuted out. But probably, my guess is that she probably died. I doubt she had time to get his parachute that quickly. But, And Morgan Edge eventually finds Clark, and, like I said, he does let him Clark before, but he comes back with his men, and they have Clark's parents tell him, like, "You know what, you're bulletproof, but they're not." And he's like, Jonathan's like, "Clark," and then when Edge's man hits him in the face, and he's like, "I know what you want." So Clark grabs his kryptonite, which could really kill him, cuts himself with the kryptonite to give him a vial of his blood, and they decide to, Morgan uses his men to get a kryptonite rock and tape it on Clark's chest so they can take him to Lionel Luthor himself. Lionel can finally know his secret. And of course, before any of this happens, though, Clark is able to, before any of this happens, the men that have her tied up, Lana comes to see where the Kents are. Of course, the men grab her too. And then she fights off one of the men. And self-defense, kicks the guy, and the guy ends up on a rake or something. I don't know if you call it a rake or something, but he gets stabbed and he dies. And Clark, before being exposed, is able to get the kryptonite off of him. He uses heat vision to explode the truck that he's in. And he's like, Morgan Edge, you set me up, Lionel said. And Morgan is shooting at Lionel's men, and Lionel's security guard shoots and kills Morgan Edge, and Morgan Edge falls into the water. But overall, Phoenix was a really good episode. I enjoyed it. So, yeah. And then another favorite episode of mine is called Extinction, where you have a guy named Van McNulty and his friend, I forget his friend's name. Maybe it was Jesse, I don't know. But he likes Lana, tries to go and flirt with Lana, doesn't work. But I think his name is Jace or Jet, I can't remember his name. But he has these powers of kind of being like a fish. He has gills. He's a meteor freak. So he basically, Lana is like swimming in the pool, just doing some practicing swimming, and the guy attacks her in the pool. But then next thing you know, he is shot and killed. And, even though Lana is thankful for it, Clark is like, well, I've saved you too, but I wouldn't kill anybody. Even though Clark wants to suspect who did this. They found a guy named Van McNulty, who his father was in the military, and of course, if y'all remember season 2, I forget what the episode was called, where Whitney came back, when it was really Tina Gray, when the officer, the general or whatever, that was Van's father coming to tell Whitney's parent that he had died, and of course Tina had a baseball bat and beat him, killed him, and that was Van McNulty's father. So Van McNulty, angry and hates meteor freaks, decides to go on a killing rampage, and basically makes a hit list out of killing them. He tries to make Lex his next target. Lex and his father, I forgot to mention episode of Phoenix, where Lex wants to rekindle his relationship with father, make it better. There's a moment where he just, at the end of the episode, gives Lionel a hug. And, starts to want to work for LuthorCorp, but Lex doesn't want to get, of course, a psychiatric evaluation. Lex doesn't want to get that, but Lex is almost killed by Van until Clark saves him. He tries to stop Van, and then Van has these kryptonite rocks, which he said, Van finds out, I was like, this is your weakness, huh? He's like, ooh, scares you? And Van, of course, knowing that Clark's a meteor freak, decides he wants to kill Clark too, so he makes these kryptonite bullets. These little kryptonite bullets, which Clark, like I said, is invincible. Superman pretty much, a bullet can't kill him. But if you made a kryptonite bullet, you could. A kryptonite gun or bullet would kill him, basically. So Van has a sniper and shoots him. Clark almost dies until Jonathan Martin have to get a knife in the chest right here and pull it out. And it does heal him up, and he does save quickly. And he decides to thank Lana for it. Lana that he needs his help. But he's trying to murder Clark. She's like, you need to turn yourself into the police. I'm grateful for what you did, but it's wrong with trying to kill Clark. You murdered somebody innocent. He's like, Van's like, what I hate worse than a freak is a freak lover. So he kidnaps her. He's like, I'm going to prove that your boyfriend is bulletproof. So he tries to shoot Clark with kryptonite. Clark comes to confront him. He tries to shoot him. Everyone's like, Clark! But of course Clark is wearing a metal breastplate which protects him. And the awesome thing is, not Clark, but Lana kicks Van's ass, just does his karate kick and kicks him in the face and knocks him out, and then Van is sent to prison. Yeah. But definitely an enjoyable episode in my opinion. I enjoyed Extinction. I thought it was cool that they had a villain in this episode who was not a meteor freak, but a normal person. Just you can understand Van's reasoning maybe, but that doesn't mean it wasn't right for what he did. But it was interesting that they had a villain like this in Smallville. But anyway, then another favorite of mine is called Perry. Yes. This is where we have, of course, Perry White, played by Michael Kennett. Now, if y'all know who Perry White is, he is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet and the Superman franchise, and Superman, basically, and Metropolis. He's the editor-in-chief. In this version, though, Perry White, of course, was a journalist, but he eventually got fired thanks to Lionel Luthor, which we find out. He tries to expose Lex, and he gets him fired, so for a long time he's been an alcoholic. Clark discovers that his abilities are getting drained because the sun gets hit by a meteor that affects it and affects his powers. He saves Perry from a wreck. Perry's like, "Well, you did this. I don't know what you're talking about." He tries to talk to Perry about getting better, and he takes Perry to Lana, and he wants to talk to Lana about that day she lost her parents, and she's upset by this, so she talks to Lex to just get thrown out of town. Lex, just throws Perry out of town. But eventually he sees Clark in an accident, is trying to move a tractor for his dad because he can pick it up, but eventually comes too much for him, and the tractor falls all the way over to Perry White, and Perry White, he's like, "Come on, kid, I'm gonna do a story on you." So Perry says he wants to do a story on Clark. So they have to, Jonathan fools him by getting into his truck by thinking that it's Clark, and Perry's like, "Hold the camera." And Perry's like, since I got into trouble, he's basically, Perry's getting depressed, so he just has to kill himself until Clark eventually helps him out. They're on the bottom of the edge of this cliff, about to die, hanging on to a rope, but Pete and Lana are able to help out, and he sees Clark's bleeding, so Clark has no powers, until, at the end, Perry realizes Clark, he thinks would help him. He's like, "You know what, maybe there's a future meeting Metropolis, like at the Daily Planet." He's like, "If you're ever there, Clark, just look me up." And of course, Perry would go on to be the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet. But Perry, really good episode. I think Michael McCain. The only movie I've seen him in I remember he was in Jack. There's a lot of movies. The scene where Jack went to the bar. That was that actor. But I thought it was good. And I liked how we saw Perry White. He was a journalist. And he used to even talk to Chloe a little bit. That he messed up, but he's an alcoholic. He's just in a bad spot. Until Clark helps him until he realizes, journalism is in his blood. So he decides to fully, of course, at the end, sober up and get better, and he does become a better person at the end. He will be the Perry White that you know from Superman usually, to become the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet. But Perry was a good episode. I liked how they brought Perry White into the series. I think you see a little bit more of him, but later on. And then another episode called Relic, which is one of my favorites. This was a good episode because you find out that Lana has a great uncle named Dex McCollum, who was accused of murdering his wife. I think her name was Louise. I forget her name. That looks like Lana. Basically, it's some of the actors playing, in the 50s. But you find out that Lana's great uncle was accused of murder, and they said, "No, it wasn't me, it was the Drifter." And this Drifter, of course, was Jor-El, who came to Earth just to visit. And back in the 50s, he meets this woman named Louise, and he falls in love with her, even though she's married to Dex. She wasn't really in love with Dex, she was just kind of forced to marry him. But they start having an affair, and you can tell that they start having an affair, I guess, until, you also have Lionel Luthor's father basically tries to shoot the Drifter, tries to shoot Jor-El, but it doesn't work. So Jor-El has to get him for murder. He meets Iron Kent, who was actually Jonathan Kent's father. And you see Jonathan's mother pregnant with him at the time. And of course, Iron Kent decides to help Jor-El basically get to the caves, the Kawatche caves, and he puts his, a medal there, well not a medal, but more like a Kryptonian bracelet that he has, that he wears, with his Kryptonian symbol, puts it in the cave and leaves it there, and I guess you can say that from Jor-El, when he knew Krypton was going to blow up, decides to, I guess you can say it wasn't just an accident that his parents found him, that they were basically chosen by Jor-El, because Jor-El knew that they were really good people, and so he won't Kal-El, to be raised by them. But the story is very interesting. You also find out that the one that committed the murder was actually a mayor who was in love with Louise but was jealous, so he decides to hire Lionel Luthor's father, We'll find out Lionel's father, of course, was abusive to him, which why he treats Lex the way he is, because his father treated him like that. I guess the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree, per se, but hired to kill the Drifter with Louise. I guess in a sense, Jor-El was bulletproof because he has superpowers, which he shows off to Louise that he can fly and stuff. The bullets bounce off and land and eventually hit Louise and she dies. So the mayor admits to it and of course goes to jail for it. But that was a good episode. I like how they used the past. Clark had just touched off and, fill the past. But it was a really good episode. I like how they used the extension of the 50s and stuff. Also, Clark gets the mayor to confess by pretending to be the Drifter, pretending to be Jor-El from the past. And it scares the mayor enough to confess. But it was a good episode. I liked it. It was very interesting. The one favorite episode is called Magnetic. Yes. This is an episode where a guy named Seth Nelson, who is a guy that, works at goes to Smallville High, he's always had a crush on Lana, but I guess you can say Lana was never interested in him. Basically, he gives Lana a gift that they're like at a fair or whatever, and he says give Lana like a gift, and this guy's like, you trying to give her a gift? And it's like a snow globe, but it's kryptonite in it, and basically he pushes the guy chases him, sees him with Seth, and he hits Seth in the head with a globe, and the kryptonite goes into his head. It gives him these magnetic powers, which he can use magnetism to control it, and he eventually starts to use that power on Lana, and controls Lana, basically to make her fall in love with him. Goes on a date with her, you see them share a kiss, and even though, Clark is there, tries to help them from getting trapped, and she's like, Clark, are you following me? Look, we're not together anymore, you gotta get over that. And Lana decides to, of course, leave Smallville. She steals the money from the Talon, to see Lex, and drives off with, Magnet Boy, with Seth, and Clark confronts him as like, look, Seth, I know what you're doing, you're controlling her, you have these magnetic powers, I know what you're doing. He's like, stay away from me, Clark, you don't know what I'm capable of, and he just does this. By doing that, he closes all the lockers in the school. He's like, you don't know what I'm capable of. And as he tries to get Lana in trouble, they're about to take off and leave him and Lana are about to leave Smallville, and the police are after them. So Clark, they don't see him, but he's able to use his heat vision to burn up the road. Lana gets arrested, and she tells Clark, well, he's trying to help me out. Clark, you can help me out, please. And of course, she tells him that Seth has a brother. And of course, she found out Seth has no brother. They go to the fair. Clark meets them there because he's able to know what Seth is up to, and eventually him and Seth fight. He grabs uses magnetic powers to grab one of the machines and attack Clark until Clark is able to get back at him and make him with magnetic electric powers, give him a shock. And of course, Seth ends up, I think, in a coma, and Lana ends up getting community service, but it wasn't really her behavior. And of course, Lex forgave her, and so did Clark, and she apologized to them. And yeah, but Magnetic was a really good episode, in my opinion. Lex also finds out that Chloe has been dating Lionel's past a little bit, and like I said, you find out something about Lionel's parents. You find out that, I'll go and say it, that Lionel, they can never prove it, but Lionel, of course, worked with his old friend, Morgan Edge, basically hired him to help him kill his parents for their insurance money so he can start LuthorCorp up. So basically he had his parents murdered. And then another favorite episode of mine called Shatter. This is where Lex ends up locating Morgan Edge, who's now portrayed by an actor named Patrick Bergen. Well, he has got plastic surgery, able to change his face, and he tries to make a deal with Morgan Edge to testify against his father to know the truth. But eventually, I guess you can say Lionel knew this, so Lionel comes up with a plan to drive Lex crazy. Lex goes home. He has somebody trying to kill him. He goes to the farm to ask Clark for help. Basically, he tries to tell Clark about somebody trying to shoot me, but everything, even his bodyguard Darius, who was shot that night, is basically just alive and well, and basically they think Lex is going crazy. He's like, what's wrong with me? I'm not crazy. And you see Lex like having a blanket and singing a lullaby to her. Basically, you find out that his brother Julian, baby brother, who Lex accidentally calls the death of his little brother Julian, and it's basically he's felt guilty over it ever since, and he's basically had issues because of it. He also, in the episodes, he's trying to, I forgot to mention, he attacks Perry White nearly, and he's doing this. Lex doesn't want to talk to a psychiatrist, but he is having issues, and Sharon is where it all comes to just bring out. But Lex decides to go get revenge on his father and Morgan Edge, that they're just trying to make him crazy. Points his gun out wide, and I was like, no, I love you, son. I didn't do nothing. These are delusions you're having. It's not real, Lex. Lex decides to go take down Morgan Edge. But Clark eventually shows up, and of course, Morgan Edge basically knows Clark's secret and his weakness, so he has like these beads or something that are made of green kryptonite. He's like, Carol, I know I beat you again, that's why I kept this kryptonite. Kind of punches him a little bit until Lex knocks him out, or shoots at him. Shoots at Morgan, shoots at Edge, him falling out the window, and he's like, Clark, I had to kill you too, until Clark is able to eventually get away. Lex is able to shoot, Morgan is trying to drive away. Lex shoots at him a couple times, Clark does kill him, but Clark, stops the car from hitting Lex by just smashing it, and he's like, Lex is like, Clark, I knew there was something about you. He's like, his powers and his nurse, his psychiatrist goes, Lex, we gotta go. Did you see that? He punched the car like it was nothing. And of course Lex gets arrested at the end, and Clark just lets it be, and you see Lex, just in the picture of it. But here's where you see Lex in where you see Lex right here in the mental asylum, just tied up in a straitjacket, and Lionel looking at him and crying. But you find out Lionel did this to him because he wants to keep the cover up of his parents, so he just wants to make it seem that Lex is crazy. But yeah, Shattered was a good episode. Just to see, Lex before he becomes the man he becomes, and this is how it happens because of the treatment of his father and the love that he never really got from him. But it was really a good episode. And then an episode called Asylum, which ends the season. We also get some past folks come back. Asylum, pretty much Clark comes to Lex, visit him, and Clark says, Lex asks Clark, can you bring me out, Clark? So, shh, I know your secret. He's like, can you bring me out here? He's like, Clark, no, he tries to attack Clark. Orders home back. Clark also sees two past enemies, which are, of course, Ian Randolph and Eric Summers. Now, those two, Ian Randolph was, of course, the kid that can duplicate himself. He was in season 2. It was called D. Chati. I can't say it right, but it starts with a D. I know that. I just can't say it right. But he, of course, was the kid that wanted to get straight A's and wanted to get out of Smallville, and of course was murdering some people in order to do that. And Clark had to stop him from killing Lana and Chloe. He's like, hey Clark, no time no see. And of course Family Nolte is there. He's like, you freak, you put me in here. He tries to attack her, or at least hold him back because they're in the nut house. Then you see Eric Summers, who was a kid played by Sean Astimore, I believe his brother. I think it was his brother Aaron, not sure if Marcus said his twin brother, but also going to play Jimmy Olsen on the show, I think in season 8. But anyway, Eric Summers was a kid in an episode called Leech, season 1 episode, who got Clark's powers, and of course, he just went into he just went crazy and tried to hurt people and kill people with his powers, and Clark had to stop him, and he ended up getting sent to Bellevue for it. So basically, Ian and Eric basically want to talk to Van. They're asking for a team up, even though he's like, he don't trust them because they're freaks to him. He's like, they basically want to escape and get out of there and continue with us, but they decide to get revenge. 3 of them conspire to get revenge on Clark Kent. Because he's like, we know his weakness. And so he eventually gets that weakness, and they pull the kryptonite rock. Van gets it from him, and as they're working out, he duplicates himself. He's like, you know what, Van? Never trust a meteor freak. And they grab the pit. He's been a person. They grab the weight and they push it down on him and kill him, choke him out basically. he even offers to help free Lex, but Lex says no. I think Lex tries to break out too in the beginning of the episode, tries to break out on his own in the episode, but of course, they got the bars and he gets caught eventually. He's able to knock out, one of the orderly was like, Lex, what are you doing? We can stop you, and then Lex knocks him out, but like I said, Lex gets captured, and Lon was like, I could have got you out here, Lex, but you did it like this, like, Lex is like tied up to a chair, kind of just lying down, like I'm tied up. He's like, you did this to me, and Clark, feels guilty about him being there, so he decides to, Clark eventually decides to go to the Bellwether and break him out. And meanwhile, Ian attacks him with a kryptonite rock and starts being up. Like, what, Ken, for what you did to me, I could have been in school, in a new school, and now Smallville 1 for you. Starts beating him, Clark, getting his revenge there for a bit. They take Clark to Eric to give the electric shock, and eventually he gets his powers back. Eric gets Clark's powers back. He's like, yeah, I just enjoy this. Bends and breaks a wall, and, just picks up Clark and throws him. Just starts beating up Clark, and he's like, I'm gonna kill him now. He's like, Eric, you can't do this. I'm like, we're friends. We need to get out of here. I was like, I thought we were friends. And then, of course, I guess he punches in, Clark kills him. Clark is eventually able to use the green kryptonite on Eric, tackles him, and able to get to the electric shock and gets his powers back. He's like, now where's Lex? But Lex is also, before being his father used electric shock therapy, Clark ends up being too late. And even though he can be a vegetable, I was like, again, so Lex gets the electric shock therapy and forgets all his memories. Gets how they sound. He's like, Clark, you've been there for me the whole time. I'm sorry I attacked you. He doesn't remember anything in the past 7 weeks about what happened to him. And he's like, Clark, I love you, Clark, because you've been a good friend to me. You're like a brother. Loves Charlie like a brother, and they give each other a hug. But Clark still feels guilty that he couldn't save his friend. But overall, Asylum was a good episode. And then another favorite episode is mine called Whisper, where in this episode Clark gets a new power in the season, which is super hearing. You have this kid, this meteor freak that can, with his mouth, able to make like a siren sound, which can hurt Clark's ears. This kryptonite ring, he tries to use heat vision, and his kryptonite ring, and Clark ends up blind, but he ends up getting super hearing. He can hear things loudly. He ends up hearing Chloe talking to Lionel about his powers, and he's upset at her for this. Because like I said, Chloe decided to, of course, betray Clark, basically give information out on him, but she decides to back out of it. But of course, she can't back out because now Lionel is threatening to fire her father, and get her job away from the Daily Planet. But overall, Whisper. Until, of course, the superpowered kid, the meteor freak kid, they can do vibrations out of his mouth, kidnaps Pete, tries to kill him, and Clark has to save him. Eventually he gets his eyesight back, but it was cool seeing him use his powers, ways to focus, using it, and using his superhero. But it's a cool new power for him to use, because he can tell when there's trouble and stuff. Okay, Walt Masters, and that was the kid's name. Well, they kidnap Pete because to dismiss the charges against Walt. But Clark eventually ends up saving him. Apparently the kid that did this, his name is Nathan Dean, eventually gets himself killed by getting car stolen from him by accident. Clark does save him, eventually gets his eyesight back. Him and Lana try to reconnect, but Lana just doesn't know if she can trust Clark anymore, and at the end of the episode, she leaves, drives away in her car, and Clark can hear her crying. But Whisper was a good episode. It was a good way to see Clark get his powers. You also see him with glasses in the episode, which also will be the future Clark Kent, the man Clark Kent that he will become when he becomes Superman. The glasses will be his disguise. And then another favorite of mine favorite episode is called Delete. character coming back. I forget his name for a minute, but he tried to, of course, attack Ryan. Basically, close friend Ryan. The Summer Hope place. He had this girl named Molly Giggs, who worked for this guy. Dr. Gardner, who was in, of course, like I said, season 2 episode Ryan. And basically, Chloe uncovers a secret about the experiment there. She thinks it's Lionel first, but first Clark tries to run her over. I forgot to mention, and Shattered. I forgot to mention, in that episode, Shattered, sorry, I just go over it. She meets a boy named, Adam. And, of course, Adam becomes friends with Lana. Lana lets him even move into the Talon. Gives him a place to stay. But Lana eventually herself tries to kill Chloe, and they fight through the school a little bit, but they get expelled, and even Jonathan and Martha try to kill Chloe. Jonathan has a green kryptonite to attack Clark. Does he use his powers? He starts beating up on Clark a bit, and so Chloe helps drop some hay on Jonathan, and it stops him from hurting Clark. And he also, like I said, she gives him a rent the apartment, but Adam and Liz High. So first of all, they come off of being friends to maybe want to like each other, but Lana just doesn't really want to be in a relationship right now, but just wants Adam as a friend and just tries to help him out, be nice, even though she thinks he might be hiding something. Also, at the end of the episode, Lex goes to Dr. Gardner, basically that he wants to know stuff about his past, so he asks him to help him find out stuff about his past, help him click into his memories of defeating his father, of taking his dad down, trying to find out what his father was up to. But it was a good episode, really. And then another favorite episode of mine is called Obsession. This is an episode where Clark meets a girl named Alicia Baker. They're at a trip at Lethal Corp. Like the moment where Chloe says something rude about Lionel, and I was like, beg your pardon. He's like, oh, nothing. Because of what Lionel did to her. Like I said, Clark does find out about it and is angry at her, but she apologizes to him. Eventually, they make up over it. But like I said, Clark when he meets Alicia, they go into the elevator because the teacher tells them to take the next elevator, and they do. The elevator goes crazy, so he uses heat vision, turn off the camera, his super strength to just punch out the elevator door and grab like a shield, or just grab it and stop it. Alicia, she has also the ability. She has powers of her own, which she can teleport anywhere, and she's like, please don't tell my secret, and she's like, saying thank you to Clark. He talks to her later that it's nice to share his powers with somebody, so him and Alicia start kind of falling for each other, maybe wanting to get into a relationship with her. She tells him that, it was kind of a meteor shower, she was swinging or playing on the playground, and eventually just teleported to a cornfield or something like that. And her and Clark just kind of go off for a bit, maybe share a kiss, and she sees in Clark's bedroom, basically fully kiss him, and then Johnny catches them, and is like, can you trust her, with your powers? I really like this girl, there's something special about her. And now Clark doesn't know this when he's telling Johnny about this, but because since Alicia teleports, she's able to eavesdrop on their conversation. And basically, she starts to become really obsessed with Clark. Taking pictures of her in his locker, start grabbing Clark, touching him, was like, I want to relationship with you right away. Starts going into fatal attraction on him, as you can speak. He's like, you need to get over all. While is your past, I'm your future. And she really wants to be with Clark, starts obsessing over him, and Clark is not so sure about it, just makes her feel uncomfortable. She even goes to his house to meet his mother, kind of like in a fatal attraction, like this sort of way. She's like, Clark, you do are the people you love me. And I was like, is that a threat? Clark says. And Clark says that he's got to stop her. That she pushes her father, basically just pushes her dad over the stairs, even though, she doesn't want to admit to it. Clark tries to go, but she disappears, and she doesn't want to admit to it, so Clark says, the police are coming. Basically her weakness is paint. So he puts her in a full room of pain. He's like, I know your secret too. I hope you were talking to your parents about the kryptonite. So she gets the kryptonite. And she's like, shh, I'll go take care of Lana. So she's like, she goes up to Lana. Like, what's your thing? What is it with you, Lana? I was like, excuse me? Oh, there's nothing between me and Clark. And she uses a knife on her. Basically tries to kill Lana, but Clark comes to his tongue, like, with a paint. Not with a paintbrush, but with a paint bucket. Uses heat vision and is able to open up the paint. And she's like, and the paint gets on her. She's like, she doesn't disappear, but she can't. She's like, why, Clark? Why? And she ends up in Bella. But we will see Alicia Baker again in season 4. But essentially, that was a good episode. And we will see Clark sharing powers with somebody, but he just had a relationship with this girl, and she just became obsessed with him. But like I said, you will see Alicia Baker again. And I believe that woman, the girl playing Alicia Baker, she will also go into Star Wars Flash season 5. She will also be Cicada, the new Cicada in that show, in that season of The Flash CW show. And then another favorite episode of mine called Crisis. Clark and Peter are going to go to the Crisis Center, and Clark gets a panic call from Lana saying, Clark, he's going to shoot me, he's going to get me. And they just start there, they're trying to find out, why Lana did this. He's like, Sheriff, this isn't a joke. And they were finding that it's Adam as well. She also found out about Adam in this show that Adam apparently, her friend Adam, he's been having nightmares. You see his ears kind of bleed. You find out that of course, his character died about 5 months ago, and this thing he's being resurrected. And it's this project, of course, done by Lionel Luthor. Lionel, who, of course, also like Lex, wants to find out the secret about Clark, so he sends Adam to find stuff about Clark. And when he doesn't find the stuff about Clark, he has him locked up. The doctor that he's working with, Dr. Wong, I forget what her name was, but she's the one that's doing these illegal experiments, is working with Lex and even Lionel a bit. But she ends up getting killed because Adam kills her and kills her. Every one of the doctors there escapes. He's like, I need my medicine to live. And Lazy kills him, so he starts to go after Lana. Kidnaps Lana, and he's like, you're taking me to go see my pills. With it, he's got a shotgun, attacks Jonathan and Chloe. And Lana eventually calls Clark. Clark does eventually come on. Lana nearly gets shot, just kind of falls out, just trips. And Adam shoots. Of course, Clark gets the bullets in his Clark, which doesn't hurt him at all. And, Adam starts to die. It's like, I knew things about you. I knew what Lionel wanted me to find out about you, and he dies, of course. And, as Adam lies there dying, Clark just died, him and Lana embraced, just hug. But Crisis was a good episode. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. And then you have, of course, Lana in season 4 will also go on to eventually have, we say Adam was a fan, but she does go on to have a boyfriend in season 4, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Then another episode, a favorite of mine, called Legacy, which this is where you have Christopher Reeve come back. You find out that due to the deal that Jonathan made with Joel sent that he's sending him messages through the Kryptonian key, the Octagon, because Jonathan had open heart surgery, so he's got to take it easy, of course, having a funeral, he's got work to do. He's on top of the board, he falls, but Clark saves him just in time. He's like, Clark, I'll be away, and Jonathan starts acting a little crazy, a little aggressive. And you also find out that Lionel, who's still obsessed, eventually gets help from Dr. Virgil's wound. We have Christopher Reeve come back, asking for help for Dr. Virgil's. Of course, he doesn't tell whom his Clark Kent is, but he starts to investigate the Russian cave, wants to find out the secret of it, is basically obsessed with it, until Jonathan walks in there with a shotgun, and so you're no right, and they start fighting a bit. He tries to grab the key, but, he stops him, he chokes Lionel, almost kills him until Clark stops him, and the security men show up to attack him. Like, but go ahead and shoot me. But and then, if you find out, what we can do, and then Lana's like, just let him go. And after Oh, also Lana and Clark eventually share a kiss. Clark might want to build a ship with her, but it just doesn't seem to work out. But he says she eventually talks to Lex about losing faith in Clark, that she just can't trust him. Because like I said, Clark keeps his secret from her, which makes their relationship very strained. But Lionel, Clark goes to Dr. Delta versus for himself, but she found out that he has the key at the end. He's like, Hello, I didn't betray you. And tells him, that this really happened, that he didn't betray a secret. Tells him, I'm waiting. That's the message that right now that is on Earth from your father, Jor-El. And he still can trust Dr. Versus One. And then, of course, at the end of the episode, you have Christopher Reeve and talk about the Christopher Reeve Foundation, which was nice and funny to see again. But it was awesome to see Christopher Reeve once again, which sadly, in season 4, until they got to there, I think he sometime passed away. But yeah, I miss Christopher Reeve, our Superman, my Superman at least, and to a lot of other people, is Superman. But yeah, it was great to see Christopher Reeve again. That's why I like this episode especially, because it was awesome that they brought Christopher Reeve back. I'm sure if he would have been able to walk again, maybe he would have been more in this show. That would have been awesome. But, it didn't happen. But it was good to see him again. And then another favorite episode of mine called Truth, which you find out that Chloe, who is basically trying to find out stuff about LuthorCorp, sneaks into a lab and, of course, gets infected by meteor rocks. And she, basically, being a reporter, she gets the power to get people to tell her the truth. So when she asks you a question, except Clark, you can tell her the truth. She finds out some truth from people, like that Pete has always been in love with her, that's what he tells her, but Clark has been out of the way, so I just figured, forget it. Because he gives Chloe kisses like, wow. But I've always suspected in the show that Pete was always somewhat in love with Chloe, just couldn't do it because Clark was there. She's also able to talk to Lana and get Lana, and Lana tells her that she didn't trust her, and which hurts Chloe's feelings. She's also said to Lionel, and she talks to Lionel using her powers on Lionel, is able to get him to confess. He's like, of course I murdered my parents for their insurance money. He's like, oh, that's very dangerous information, Miss Sullivan, for you to know. And of course Lionel will make threats toward Chloe, but knowing that she knows the truth, eventually wants to go to Lex about it, and she goes to Lex and is like, why don't you and your father get along? And Lex is like, I just want my dad to love me. That's all I want my father. I just want to love from him. Seemed nearly almost cry a bit, which of course Lex never got that from his father. But meanwhile, Chloe doing this, she also finds out, almost finds out Clark's secret. Is going to go ask John and Martha. She asks Martha. Martha runs her mouth off about Jor-El, and Pete does her off about the secret a little bit, that Clark can super speed them. And Chloe's like, please don't let Chloe know a secret. But she also investigates this teacher, which you find out that this teacher, of course, committed a bad crime back then. It's not really her name, and so he gets her arrested. And so her son decides to get revenge by killing Chloe. Chloe, also since she's been infected, the meteor rock, the thought that she has going to kill her. So Clark ends up saving her from this kid that tries to kill her. Grabs Chloe out of there, has established this needle into her heart, which brings her back to life and takes away her power. But Truth was a really good episode. And then another favorite of mine is called Memory or Memra, which I like this episode because you see past of Clark and Lex's. You see a bit of Lex and Clark's past. You also see that Lex, as he's getting trying to get his information from Dr. Gardner, puts him like in a kryptonite pool, with putting his head on these. Yeah. Just show you in the book, I guess. picture was in here somewhere. Yeah, when he's got Lex on that right there, and Lex eventually decides, you see his past of, him being in like his border school, forget what his school's called, but his dad decides to come out there, says, Lex, Julian died, you've got to let that go, and he's got Julian, and he's having these nightmares. Clark wants to stop Lex because he can find out his secret, which we also found out Lionel knows something because Lionel recorded it, had it on camera. He does show Clark eventually in an episode, but before he does, in this episode, we see a bit of Lex's past, that he was abused by his father, and that his mother Lillian, who eventually we find out that Lex has always believed that he killed his brother Julian, but in fact it was his mother who killed her because she didn't want Julian to be raised by Lionel, so she killed him, and Lionel thinks that Lex did it. When he finds out, he's like, Lex, what have you done to Julian? Julian's like, what have you done? He punches Lex in the face when he's a kid, and Lex has pat memories of this, and Lex feels guilty. He's like, I'm sorry, Dad. Like, well, sorry about what, Lex? Sorry about what? And Lex is just going through these past traumas. Eventually, Dr. Gardner is able to get Clark in the kryptonite before Clark goes close to it, and kryptonite makes him sick and dizzy, so he's about to pass out. They tie him up, force him, take his clothes, blow them off, takes his clothes off. They don't seem naked or anything like that, but decide, and he finds out that his mother's name is Laura. You see him as a baby on Krypton, then putting him in the ship. And he's like, whoa, is that Clark? Who's Laura, Clark? And, Clark is just freaking out, and they're just, like, having a seizure, and they go, and eventually the machine just goes haywire, and Dr. Gardner, I guess you can say, gets killed. Oh, I forgot, the girl that he was helping was named Molly in the lead episode. She had the ability to get people, when to look at a phone, and hypnotize them into killing somebody, but that was all him. I forgot to mention in that episode, Chloe, who gets far from death when her boss gets killed by his assistant, who was of course mind controlled, and stabs him with a pencil in the air. But anyway, sorry, just going off there. But Memorial was a good episode. It was nice to see Lex's past and Clark's past of who they would eventually become in the future. But it was cool. I enjoyed the episode. And of course, Lex ends up saving Clark out of there. Then another episode called, two more guys, Forsaken. This is where Emily, of course, from the episode Alikaritz, I can't say the name right, but from season 2, of course, who was Lana's childhood friend, who, of course, died in the river by accident, eventually, it's from season 2 that she has been cloned, and now she's pretty much a teenager. But Emily breaks out of the institute that Lana has her in, breaks out and kills the guy in the Talon. Lana is deciding, by the way, she wants to go to Paris and go to school there and just live there for a while, just to get away from Smallville. She even tells Clark this. Clark wants to tell Lana his secret. But can't. So, like I said, Emily pretends to be this girl named Emma, the new owner's daughter, which is not true. She kills the guy, and she even kills her own father. Just is able to reach into people's face through your stomach, to your heart and kill you. She kidnaps Lana and just locks her up in in a giant box, kind of like a little prison. She's like, you used to what I did. He's like, Emily, maybe we can be friends again. Lana, able to use his smarts, knocks her out, tries to run from her, and she sees that the two people that she's killed, she keeps them. It's like, you're not going anywhere, Lana. And Clark finds this out about Lana and realizes that it's Emily when he confronts the girl. And, like I said, Emily kills her own father because Lana talks to him about her escaping, and they go and save her. But it doesn't work. So Clark eventually uses his abilities and he goes to save Lana. He's able to use I don't know what you call it, like a water bin or something. I don't know, but Clark ends up using his heat vision. Emily ends up going into water and passing out. Clark sent back to her prison, her home, the facility again. And Clark also wants to tell her a secret, but when FBI agent Loda, who this guy I know, I've seen in Dukes has a reunion, which was also, John Sherman played Bo Duke. But anyway, he plays an FBI agent here who was trying to help Lex catch his father on murder, but gotta get proof of it. And he's also working for Lionel Luthor, and Lionel wants to, of course, like I said, know the truth more about Clark. So he decides to, Luthor kidnaps and he tortures Pete to basically get information, and Pete won't tell him, and Pete, who's upset about this, I think that's the episode of Forsaken, where of course, Lex's parents, after the impact, gives him 24 hours to turn over information on his father to face jail term for the murder for the lab technicians at Luthor Corp. Chloe's able to help detect information, but before we get to the end of the episode, Forsaken, after Lex had Pete got beaten by the FBI agent, because Lex was he even thanks Lex, but he tells Clark, I'm done. You also find out that his parents are getting into a divorce, and Pete decides to go live with his mother in Wichita. He's like, Clark, I can't handle your secret anymore. This is just too much for me. I'm always nervous. It's just too much. So Clark, of course, decides not to tell Lana his secret because of this. But, it always made me cry to see Pete go. But I guess that just shows Lee. But Pete's like, he's like, goodbye, Clark, and, gives him a hug. And I guess he's from that moment on, Clark decides that he just doesn't want to tell anybody his secret from there on. He doesn't want them to have to be in trouble or be put in trouble because of him. He's like, Clark, you can't be there every time. And Clark decides, I'm not going to tell anybody my secret. Like I said, Pete finds out his secret in season 2. And meanwhile, Lex is able to get the information, like I said, because Chloe, who used her phone, is able to get this text information to allow that he confessed to it. Because in the truth episode, in the truth episode, with the power she had, got him to convince that he murdered his parents. And so this information for the cops to arrest him. And he tells, as Lionel's getting arrested for the murder of his parents, he tells Lex, he's like, so you're basically like Judas, you betrayed me. He's like, oh son, Judas hung himself with his own rope. Lionel talks to the FBI agent, he's like, we made a deal with you. He's like, Lionel, I'm through with you. He's like, be careful, you might not drown. He's like, I'm a pretty good swimmer. And just leaves at the end. Alright, another favorite. Another favorite of mine is called, an episode called Covenant. But you have a girl named Adrian Pellick who pretty much goes to Cora, comes to the camp farm naked, basically. You don't see her naked, but she kills somebody in the corner, basically telling Clark, you can come live at this place with me, you need to return to me with your real. Clark also finds out that in this episode, thanks to Lionel, tells him that, Lex still has like this room of being obsessed with Clark, having pictures of him and his parents, and still the core, he's still just obsessed with it. He's like, we're not friends anymore, he tells him at the end of the episode. Lionel ends up getting sent to prison for good, because Clark testifies because he tells Lex that he saw his father, fry him like a vegetable. He's like, Lex, why didn't you tell me before? Because I was afraid that you wouldn't trust me or something like that. Eventually, like I said, the friendship gets derailed, becomes over because of what Lex did. Chloe has to go into protective custody. Cora gives him clothes, she tells him that, kill out. If they're going to betray and leave you, she even shows Clark that she can fly, takes him up, Clark in the air with her. She ends up finding that FBI agent Lode, who's still probably trying to get information about Clark. Eventually she comes to him, she's able to use some kind of a power, like to vaporize him basically. She basically just murders a man, and Jonathan doesn't trust him, doesn't trust Clark, doesn't think she's being for real, and Jonathan is like, she's lying, and then Kara, of course, Supergirl thinks that this isn't Supergirl, by the way, spoiler alert. Kara says, "Why don't you tell me the truth, Jonathan Kent?" And Jonathan says, "I will return to him, and, if I save you, I'll return you to Jor-El." I was like, "What, Dad?" And Moses was like, "Jonathan, how could you make this stupid thing?" He was like, I didn't have a choice at the time. I wanted to bring my son back, and I just had to take that risk." And she's just upset at him about it for doing this. Clark eventually, Lana eventually goes to Paris. Clark was saying about her, but Lex is saying about her, so he reaches out the flower, and Lana sees the flower, picks up her, predicts that Clark was going to say about her, because she goes on her way to Paris. And at the end of the episode, Lionel is now in prison. Basically, he's also suffering a rare liver disease that is a cancer that's going to kill him. So he gets his hair cut, he gets shaved, headed bald, has bald-like legs. And you see Chloe go with her father to a safe house, but the safe house blows up, implying that Chloe might have died. Molly goes to Paris. Lex drinks a drink, but I guess it's poison. But we found out that Jonathan gets from helping Chloe, finds out that it's a girl named Lindsay Harrison. She went missing. She disappeared. Upon serving her purpose, Jor-El eventually evaporates her. And he tries to strangle Jonathan to death. I'm like, I hate to say it, but at the beginning of this, they make Jor-El a dick. That's important. They kind of make Jor-El a dick in this. So I'm like, wow. It's pretty dark, and he's forcing hard to become somebody he shouldn't. I'm like, wow. That's a good father right there. Yeah. Basically, he's like the Lionel Luthor version of Krypton, as you can say, and Clark, he kidnaps Clark, basically he takes Clark, and he's like, "Kal-El, you're with me now." And it's like he's trapped in a little phantom zone. Clark is trapped at the end, with Jor-El trying to do some work on him, basically, because he tries to change him into being, not Clark anymore, but Kal-El. Lex drinks the strength as poison. Lex passes out. Not dead, just a faint. But you might think he is, if you've seen the show. Lex is poisoned. Chloe is apparently killed, and Lionel has his head shaved, and the episode is, like I said, with Clark being trapped in a phantom zone state of Jor having him, and then the season ends there, and that's the end of season 3 of Smallville. Alright guys, now my okay episodes. Now, there's only 5 episodes to go. My okay episodes of Smallville. Okay, let's get to that real quick now. Channel 3, ooh. Anyway, I don't want to stay up all night. I gotta go to bed soon. My okay episodes so far are an episode called Slumber. You find that this girl was in a coma named Sarah Conroy, who of course has the ability to pull into Clark's dreams. Clark has a dream of skinny dipping with Lana. Every guy's dream, right? Do with a hot girl. But anyway, okay, I'm just going off that's what me say. What? I'm a man. I can date him, can I? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But he sees this girl named Sarah running. She's running from this monster, looks like a devil almost, with a red coat. He's like, "Sarah, you're never going to escape me," with a deep, dark voice. And she's able to get Clark sleep and asks Clark for help. And Clark has to teach her not to be afraid of this monster. Eventually, she doesn't be afraid anymore. He ends up saving her. But over the Slumber, I just thought it was meh. Just not that episode. Didn't care for the girl too much. The whole thing with Clark being in the dream was a little weird. Like I said, Smallville just gets a little too weird sometimes. And I'm used to it being weird, but sometimes this is where it just gets a little too weird for me. And then an episode called Hereafter, which I thought was fine. I thought it was an alright episode. Where you have this kid named Jordan, who of course he's good at running, but he basically, when he has the power, he can foresee the future death of people. Lana touches him, he sees Lana dying peacefully, but instead you have this teacher, this gym teacher whose little girl died some time ago. He tries to kill himself, it doesn't work, and he sees Lana's future different of her dying in a fire. Tells Clark, of course, Clark, who has abilities, he sees Clark's future kind of like as Superman, basically, because you see the S on the S cape, and of course we know Clark we're going to become Superman, but Clark doesn't want to tell him a secret. of course, just can't do that. But anyway, this gym coach decides to go crazy, just kidnaps someone, this other girl, kills him in the daughter's death, tries to blow them up in a fire, until, of course, Clark saves him, and then Jordan loses his abilities. But overall, it was an alright episode. But I could see, Clark can relate to this kid of, his parents, his father who wants to protect him and keep him out of school. Clark wonders, asks Jonathan, would y'all ever want to do that to me? He's like, because John was like, yeah, Clark, we wanted to keep you hidden from the world, keep you homeschooled, because we were afraid of what people would do if they found out about your powers. They were just scared. But we had to let you go out to the world for yourself. We can't hold you prisoner. But overall, it was an alright episode. An episode called Felicity. Felicity, where you have Pete, who ends up street racing. They can use kryptonite to do street racing, and meanwhile, Jonathan, who has eventually had a heart attack, I think in the last episode, gets sent to the hospital, probably in a coma for a bit. He's telling Pete, this is stupid for a gym. Pete's like, look, Clark, I always have to live in your shadow. I'm tired of living in your shadow all the time. I'm good at this. I'm good at racing. I have it under control. And he just doesn't want to listen. But Pete, of course, the kid that he talks to named Jason Dante, Ryan Memlin, I think this kid was in a Disney Channel movie called The Luck of the Irish, But Jason Dante, who Dante is, of course, in charge of the street racing, tells Pete to overthrow the race. Pete decides not to, can't help himself, decides to win it. He's like, you made me lose $20,000, so now you owe me $20,000, and he's gonna even threaten, they even beat up Pete, and he asks Clark for that. Pete, so Pete's like, Clark, please help me, Clark decides to help him, and they kidnap Clark, and we use kryptonite on him, knock him out, but Clark is able to, eventually save Pete. Dante gets killed in an accident, and, Felicity, at the end of the, Clark gets mad at Pete, and says, Clark, just can't trust you for what you just did, Pete. He's like, come on, go play some basketball. He's like, no, Pete. And they just walk away from each other, just walking away from each other. Which I thought was fair, because they, Pete and Clark have always been good friends, almost like brothers themselves, So, for him just to walk away and then just ignore each other like that, But overall, I thought it was an alright episode. And then an episode called Resurrection, where you have Clark ran with his father to wait open heart surgery. Clark befriends a teenage boy named Garrett Davis, whose brother named Vince Garris of course, ends up dying in the hospital. And due to Lionel's, Lazarus project, you can say, brings him back to life, but Vince eventually has his eyes bleeding out and basically just dies, and Garrett wants to bring his brother back so much that he straps a kryptonite bomb to himself, holds people hostage, and forces the doctor to give his brother a new kidney to bring him back to life. And Clark can't get next to him. Of course, the kid gets shot at the end of the episode, sniper gets shot. Clark has to use a jacket to cover the kryptonite bomb and throw some earth, and it closes a big explosion. But in Resurrection, he ends up, Jonathan ends up being okay at the end. Well, you also learn, spoiler, that Lionel has been using Clark's blood to bring people back to life. Yeah. Resurrection, it was just an alright episode. Then the next episode is called The Talisman. I don't really have a least favorite episode of Smallville yet, but you have a Canadian Indian named Jeremiah Holtshaw, who was in a season 2 episode, that he's able to make a deal with Lionel to come to the caves. Jeremiah, who gets these powers from these knives, Jeremiah tries to kill Clark, stabs Clark, by the way. Clark is trying to figure out information on this kid and trying to stop him, thinking that he is Clark, basically, because he can use heat vision from his eyes, and decides to kidnap Lionel and kill Lionel. Nearly succeeds until Clark, of course, saves him, and him and Clark fight for a bit until Clark is able to get the knife out of his hand, and the kid just ends up in a coma. The knife is like thrown right on the rock where Lionel's legs are, and they try to grab it, and Clark realizes that one of the two might be his future enemies, or one of his greatest enemies one day, and even though he doesn't want to face the possibility of it, that Lex, will be his greatest enemy one day. He has to come face terms with that. Which, of course, if you're a Superman fan, you know that Lex Luthor will be his enemy. But, of course, I hope it won't be Lex, and even Martha's like, well, it might be Lex one day. But overall, the whole thing with the knife, I find that interesting. I'm like, the Gorge Chaos and Lionel's obsession, it just kind of got tiring a little bit. But I guess they're trying to find unlock the mystery of Clark Kent. They just believe that the Chaos stuff. So it was nice to see Lionel have an obsession, too, in this season. But anyway, guys, and that is it. Those were my favorite /OK episodes of Smallville Season 3. And yeah, like I said, I like this show. I love the show, but Smallville Season 3, really good in my opinion. I enjoyed it. I'm glad we got to see the aftermath of what Clark did, the choices he did, the choices he made, and how it affected people that he loved. And we see more of how evil Lionel Luthor can be, and Lex losing his mind in this season. And our last time seeing Pete Ross, which I hated because I like seeing Pete Ross. But like I said, I guess the actor decided to leave the show. It happens in many TV shows. A lot of popular TV shows where actors, certain characters will leave the show. It's happened. But it was nice that they brought Morgan Edge, who was a villain out there from the comics, and Perry White, like I said, the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet, in the show. So I thought it was awesome how they did that. And, his relationship is strained. So I feel like, the show does get a little darker as it goes on, but I like how they did it, and I don't know why I got deep in the ratings. I thought they did a good job what they did with Season 3. I think it just keeps on getting better, for me, in my opinion. But Smallville, even though those okay episodes, like I said, Smallville can be a little too weird for me. One other issue I had in the Truth episode is where Chloe talks to this football jock saying that he's in love with one of the other football jocks, in love with the guys. I'm like, great, a gay moment there, which I didn't care about that, but that's just me. Not homophobic or anything. I'm like, that's just something I'm like, really. But thank goodness this show, unlike Supergirl, is not woke or anything. So, but Smallville Season 3, really good. I enjoyed it all the way through. Really enjoyed all the episodes. It was just a very enjoyable season. I enjoyed all the episodes. It was good to see also some villains come back in the season, like I said, like Ian Randolph and Eric Summers come back. And some good new villains once in a while, like Seth and Van McNulty. And Relic was a good episode. Seeing Christopher Reeve come back for this season, one episode was awesome. And Shattered, and seeing a bit of Lex's past as well. I thought they did a good job with that. And I enjoyed it. Smallville Season 3 really good. I give it 4 out of 5 stars, yes. And a thumbs up for Smallville Season 3, and I give it 4 out of 5 stars. And alright guys, the next video, alright, I'm not saying this is going to be next, but this is going to be the next video. Next will be, of course, I will be giving my thoughts on favorite episodes of Smallville Season 4. This is where we finally get the character of Lois Lane coming into this season. So, yeah, show you the nice good picture here of the cast. Sorry about the glare. But Smallville Season 4, that'll be next. And like I said, not only do we get Lana Lang, but you also get another new character, an actor who will go on to play, I think, in Supernatural. But yeah, we finally get Lois Lane in this season. But Smallville 4th season, this will be next. Alright guys, tell me in the comments down below, what are your favorite episodes of Smallville Season 3? Tell me in the comments down below, do you guys have any favorite episodes of Smallville Season 3? Thanks for letting me know. And the next video, which won't be anytime soon by the way, I hope you look forward to my thoughts / episodes of Smallville Season 4. So I hope you guys keep on watching. And let me know what are your favorite episodes again of Smallville Season 3. And 4 to 5 stars and the thumbs up for Season 3 of Smallville. Anyway guys, I need to get to bed soon, but I want to mention real quick that this will be my last video in this house. So, I am going to be moving, but I'm going to be going to live with my grandparents probably for a month until officially we get a new house. And I'm going through some, well, very personal stuff right now that's just kind of a little difficult to go through right now. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to talk too much about my personal life here on YouTube. I prefer not to do that. Just going through some stuff which I just don't want to discuss. Just some changes in my life a little bit. Some changes that are going to happen that are probably going to be a little horrible, but I got used to it. You know. But it's just very personal right now, and I don't want to talk about it because it's just personal, and I just don't want to share my business here on YouTube. You know. But, you know, doing videos, guys, this also helps me kind of escape talking about certain problems or certain things in my personal life, you know, that I don't want to discuss here on YouTube, because I don't want to get that personal. But I really keep my personal life, you know, personal, and I really keep my personal life outside and from YouTube, you know, just keep it to myself. But, like I said, guys, I'm going to be living with my grandparents for a month. So the next time you see me, I'm going to be living there for a month. We're in June. So the next time you guys might see me will probably be in August or September. It might be July still. No, I don't think it'll be July. It'll probably be August or September. Again, I gotta get moving. I gotta move all the stuff from the room. I gotta get my movies. So I'm going to be moving to my grandparents' house just for a month until, you know, me and some of my family, we're going to be moving into another house. Just don't know when, but I will be able to continue doing videos, guys. I will find a way to do that. I'm not quitting YouTube, but again, you won't see me do a video in this house. So next time you see me doing a video, I'll be in a new house. So, like I said, Vlog 7 video, go watch my quick Vlog 7 video. It's on my channel. Watch that video if you guys have not seen it. So, like I said, I'm going to be taking a break from YouTube. Don't ask me when my next video is going to be, because I don't know when. I'm going to be taking a break from YouTube, y'all, so I just got a chance to do a video now, but we're going to be moving pretty soon, so I'm just going to be off YouTube for a while. I don't know how long, don't ask me, folks, but sometime I will be back. And guys, again, I hope y'all have a good night, good day, wherever you're at. Alright, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Thanks for always watching, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Love all you guys, all my subs. You're my good friends, and I consider you my family. Because you guys are good friends to me and respect me. You guys are always awesome. You know, just be patient with me, y'all. I'm not quitting YouTube. I have plenty of YouTube videos on here. I've been on YouTube for 7 years, guys. You know, you can watch any of my videos anytime you want. So anyway, guys, let me know what your favorite episodes of Smallville Season 3 are, and I will see you guys. Good night. Alright, good night. I'm going to try to upload this video right now before I have to go to bed. And have a good night, y'all. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. I'll see you probably either in August or September. But I'll see you then. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.